Hello guys, welcome back. My name is Nathan and today I'm going to be discussing the prospect who is better than David Pastrnak, that being Connor Bleackley and where he is right now in 2020. Now the story of 2014 draftee Connor Bleackley is simply fascinating. He was the only player drafted in the first round of 2014 to never play one NHL game. And the players he was surrounded by in his draft class were absolutely sensational. So, where is Connor Bleackley now in 2020 and what led to the disappointments in his pro hockey career? Watch till the end for my full take and analysis, and of course, hit that big red subscribe button for more videos just like this one. Now, as I touched on earlier, Connor Bleackley is the only player from the first round of 2014 to never play an NHL game. Besides him, the lowest games played from that first round was Nikita Scherbak, who played 37 games. So overall, not a bad first round from 2014. But when it came to Bleackley going into that draft, he was regarded as a pretty good first round prospect. He was drafted 23rd overall by the Colorado Avalanche. He was born in Alberta from High River, center, 6 foot right now, but back then a guy who had a pretty solid draft year, and for Colorado, he was looking like a mainstay for their future. Now, Bleackley really rose in that 2014 season. Before that, he wasn't really regarded as a top prospect. In his first season in the WHL in 2012, he played 16 games, getting 2 goals and 2 points as a 16-year-old. The next season, at age 17, would get 18 points in 66 games played. It would look like he would be a drafted player, but nothing that was absolutely insane. Until his draft year, where the production really did get good. He got 71 games played with the Red Deer Rebels and was their captain in his draft year, got 29 goals, 39 assists for 68 points. Although it wasn't a point per game, he was a big leader on that team in points and overall was the captain, was the leader, and was the main man. In the World Juniors, he got a spot in the U18s, getting 2 points in 7 games overall. So, for a draft year, not bad at all. Now, Brandon Ross of Dobber Prospects said this about Bleackley in his draft year. As the Rebels captain, Bleackley is diligent, attentive forward, capable of contributing in all 3 zones. His strong character, trustworthy defensive acumen, and non-stop motor earn him plenty of opportunities. Bleackley has shown sound offensive skills, but he's fairly average in that department, and his skating could stand to gain another gear. Bleackley projects as a versatile energy forward with admirable intangibles, capable of playing in a top 6 role. That was a mouthful. Now, what's striking to me personally, especially with these Connor Bleackley scouting reports back then, is that nobody was really saying he had good offensive potential. It was pretty much just completely average. The thing that brought him the most value was the intangibles, the defensive play, and also, I think, being a captain in your draft year. And although those things can be super valuable as well, it didn't seem like Bleackley had much talent or potential at the NHL level. And I think that was definitely evident, especially his next couple of seasons in the WHL, where he would kind of prove those offensive woes kind of right. In his next season in the WHL, he wouldn't really improve all too much. In 2015, playing 51 games, 27 goals, 22 assists for 49 points, dropping 2 goals from the year prior. And overall, it's a very solid season still from him, but not what was truly expected, especially for a player who was supposed to be more NHL ready than his peers. Now, that 2015 season was bad for him, but it wasn't truly disastrous. And then we go to the 2016 season where everything that could have gone wrong did go wrong for Connor Bleackley. That season, performance-wise, he got 46 points in 55 games, 13 goals, 33 assists. Although the assist was a big rise, his goals went down by 14 the prior year. To add on top of that performance woes, he also lost his captaincy to Wyatt Johnson, who was never drafted, would go on to be traded to the Spokane Chiefs later that year, and would now be playing with the University of Saskatchewan in U Sports up to this point. But also on top of the performance, losing his captain, another thing that definitely hurt that season was his injuries. In January, he had a fractured left kneecap, which put him off for a long time. And then in the final game of the regular season, he had sustained severed tendons in his wrist, which was just disastrous for him. So already having a fractured left kneecap and then having wrists absolutely damaged for a player that wasn't always a great skater and didn't have great offensive traits, those just pretty much disasterized his hockey career. Now, still on that 2016 season, mid-season, his rights were traded from the Colorado Avalanche to the Arizona Coyotes. And even though the Coyotes traded for his rights, they still didn't end up signing him when the offseason came. So he re-entered the draft, was selected in the 5th round by the St. Louis Blues, and was hoping to start his pro career. And his pro career didn't start off awful when it came to the start. At least in his first season in the AHL, the Chicago Wolves, he got 10 points in 45 games. Nothing too special, but if he continued to improve, there might be something there. He also got 17 points in 14 games in the ECHL, so not bad whatsoever. But the next season, he would kind of go from team to team. He would go from the San Antonio Rampage to the Tulsa Oilers of the ECHL, and again, throughout the AHL would play with the San Antonio team and the Chicago Wolves. When it came to his full AHL time that year, he got 2 points in 20 AHL games. So he made a lack of progress. And that would be the best season he would have in the ECHL, as he would get 38 points in 40 games. Again, a great ECHL player, but at this point, nothing more than that. Now, at face value, a 23rd overall pick not working out isn't the biggest deal in the world, but if you factor in the players that were picked just before him, and especially after, it's kind of crazy the players that Connor Bleackley was surrounded with. We look at the first few picks before Connor Bleackley, first looking at Minnesota at number 18 with Alex Tuch. You have Tampa Bay with Tony DeAngelo at number 19. Number 20, Chicago with Nick Schmaltz. Number 21, Robbie Fabry from the St. Louis Blues. And again, Kasperi Kapanen at number 22 with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Then you go to the couple of picks after that, after Connor Bleackley at number 23, and it just somehow gets worse. Right after, you have Jared McCann from the Vancouver Canucks, of course later traded to the Pittsburgh Penguins, and then the pick after that, number 25, David Pastrnak of the Boston Bruins. Now, what's most interesting to me is the comparisons of Connor Bleackley's draft year to David Pasternak's draft year. And although there was Jared McCann as well in between, David Pastrnak to me is the main one there. Because David Pastrnak, going back to his draft year and his days in Sweden, he was a great player. Before his draft year in 2013, he ended up getting 29 points in 36 Super Elite games, which for a D1 year is insane. And then you go to his draft year in Sweden, where he played 36 Allsvenskan games, getting 24 points overall, ended up getting 5 points in 7 U18 World Junior games, and will get 3 points in 5 U20 World Junior games. So he was a great player both in the regular season and in the postseason. And from what I read also of David Pastrnak, he was one of the biggest risers throughout that draft year with his Allsvenskan performance. And I remember back when Elias Pettersson was selected 5th overall by the Canucks, and a lot of people kind of griping at his Allsvenskan stats. And I think a lot of people have learned that the Allsvenskan is actually a very solid and great league when it comes to defensive play and structure. It's a hard league to score in, and David Pastrnak was scoring at a very, very good rate. Although his bread and butter was already offensive play, he was a guy who was set up to be a great offensive player. Now, it's not just the stats of the draft years that really interest me, it's the situations they were in and the style of play that they bring. When it came to Connor Bleackley, he was this quote-unquote safe pick with a low upside but a high ceiling, with strong defensive game and great leadership. Meanwhile, David Pastrnak, Czech-born forward, was playing in Sweden, was this offensive dynamo who was great at skating, great at puck skills, and just had so much potential. But meanwhile, didn't have the strongest defensive game and didn't really even try to have the strongest defensive game. I think in the end we knew who was the better player, and some people did also. I think the Boston Bruins probably knew, but David Pastrnak was set up to be an amazing elite player, and Bleacher Report said that he was an electrifying player in his draft year, being selected 25th overall. And obviously the Boston Bruins get the last laugh in this one. Now, not everybody's going to be perfect, but I think this is a great situation to just learn from what we've seen so far. And with Pastrnak, that's a guy who had high-end upside, but was criticized by a lot of scouts as being a boom or bust prospect. We obviously saw how that boom happened, but it wasn't automatic. And I like to put a lot of emphasis on the draft stuff that I create on this channel, and especially my rankings in high-end upside. If I can see a first-line player or a top pairing defensemen there. I really like to see that, and especially when it comes to offensive skills, Pastrnak was evident of having that in day one. Meanwhile, you have Connor Bleackley, who didn't have much offensive skill, and the skating was a big criticism from a lot of people in his draft year, but he had strong defensive IQ, was a leader on the ice, and I love defensive play, but if you can't back that up by solid skating and solid IQ, solid traditional play, I think that's a player that I would rather skip on. And you have a guy like David Pastrnak who had such obvious skill, it was only a matter of time before he broke out. And I know I'm kind of harping on Bleackley here, and it wasn't really his fault completely, because again, as I mentioned, those 2 injuries he had in 2016 were just horrific. It was a terrible place to be. And again, especially when you had tendons being severed and all this different stuff, for a guy who didn't even have that great of an offensive skill set to begin with, having your wrist not even work is not exactly ideal. But I think when it came to Bleackley, he was a player that was just never able to get fully accustomed to, especially the AHL system. He's always been a decent player there, but never a guy who's been absolutely lighting it up. And I don't think he was ever projected to be that at even the NHL level, but he was expected to bring more than what he's brought so far. And I think he's a case of where if you can't skate, if you don't have much offense skill, the way to get to the NHL is a lot more hard. And for Bleackley, he just didn't have as strong of a defensive regimen, or I guess enough character to get up to that level, or at least play one NHL game. Now, I don't think the book is completely closed for Connor Bleackley. He is still 24 years old, he is a center, so who knows what can happen. He has been very solid over the past couple of seasons in the AHL, so if he can continue to improve, continue to get better, and show more offensive upside potentially, that's a player that I could see getting a couple of NHL games in. It's obviously not going to be up to David Pastrnak levels, and he's not going to have this long NHL career, but man, get him one game, please. Now, I've really shocked myself, and I think I'm going to give myself a pat on the back for not even mentioning to this point in the video that his name is Connor Bleackley. Okay, I just broke that streak, but Colorado, what did you expect to happen? Now, that'll be it for today's retrospective discussion video. We're figuring out the name as we speak. Either way, let me know your thoughts down in the comments down below. What you agreed, and just no, that doesn't work here. Let me know your thoughts on Connor Bleackley's career up to this point and the fact that he was at some point better than David Pastrnak. Let me know all your thoughts. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that big red notification, we'll go with it. Big red notification bell for more videos just like this one. Click on this card right here to watch all my 2020 NHL draft content right on one playlist. Share this video with your friends. Get it out there, boys. My name is Nathan. I love you. I love you right now. If you're watching up to this point, I love y'all. And I'll see you guys next video or stream. Goodbye.